Hey everyone, today I'm just going to do a brief, I hope it's brief, sort of update to my previous video I did on RetroArch, probably about a year ago now. A lot of stuff in that video is not relevant anymore, and I got quite a few questions about stuff not working anymore and stuff like that, and some stuff you don't even do anymore. So I thought I'd just do a quick video on RetroArch and just a basic one how to get it set up and basically running with a few games. Because whilst RetroArch is really good, it's not the most currently it's not the most user friendly program to get up and running. So if we go to Google, and if we type in lib retro build bot, click return, it should be the first hit Google finds. If we click on that, we're brought into this system here where we have stable releases and nightly releases. I recommend getting the nightly releases because they're going to be the most up-to-date versions. So if we click on nightly, and here we have a list of all currently supported systems, so Linux, OS X, iOS, Android, Wii, even GameCube and PSP. But the ones we're interested in here is the Windows one. If we click on that, and really the only main file we're interested in here is always going to be the top one, which is the latest RetroArch full, which is actually compiled today at 7:15 in the morning. So we click on that to download it. That will take a few seconds. Create a RetroArch folder on one of your drives, and then extract this to that. So I've already created a RetroArch folder. So if we point this to extract the files into there, into RetroArch. This will take a while because there's quite a few small files. Yeah, one good thing about RetroArch is basically it's constantly being worked on. They have cores which are basically emulators. Their cores are constantly being updated, worked on, bug fixes, so they're actually more up to date than what the standalone versions of those emulators are, because basically RetroArch uses the libretro system, but basically they port over all well-known emulators to their libretro system, and basically the main emulator is just ported over so they work with RetroArch, but they're constantly being worked on, so they're really up to date. And definitely RetroArch is the best method, all-in-one solution to play your retro games emulated. One thing this download doesn't include is BIOS files. So basically, emulators such as PlayStation, Mega CD, PSP need BIOS files to load the ROMs, to load the emulators to work. They're not included, but if you do a Google search for BIOS files, you'll find them. They're easy enough to find. But for the purposes of this video, I should copy these over from my backed up RetroArch folder, and they need to go in the systems folder in your RetroArch folder. So if we go into RetroArch, into the systems folder, and I'll just copy these over and back out, and load the exe file of RetroArch. If we double click on that, untick that, click run, and at the moment you'll notice it's in a window. Beauty of RetroArch is it works with a wide range of controllers, PlayStation 3 controllers, mainly all USB controllers, and 360 and Xbox One controller. At the moment I'm using a wireless 360 controller. So if I turn this on, you'll notice now it's said that it's detected and configured my Xbox controller. So at the moment I'm not having to use the keyboard. I can use my Xbox controller to navigate the menu. You can use the keyboard, it's the cursor keys, and then I think X and Z, enter and back out a menu. But for the pad, it's B and A to enter a menu, and the D-pad to navigate. So the first thing we want to do is we go down to settings, push B, and we want to make this full screen so you guys can see what I'm actually doing. So if we go down to video, and then go down to use full screen mode, if we click push right on the D-pad, That will now make it full screen. And we want to turn off window full screen. We want to go down to aspect ratio index. We want to change that for retro games to 4:3 because that's what they're displayed at on old TVs. We want to make sure VSync is enabled and also hard GPU sync. Probably want to make sure it's turned on if you're using a Windows system, because in the Windows system I think that helps with input lag at the cost of a slight performance hit if you haven't got a very powerful system. So if you're noticing with this turned on you're getting performance issues, turn that off, but for a moderate system you should be able to have it turned on. If we exit out of this, next important thing to do is to go to configuration, and here we have configuration per core. A core is basically what RetroArch refers to as the emulators. We want to turn this on, so basically what this allows is each time we load a new emulator in RetroArch we can have specific settings for that emulator. So basically if you wanted different settings for your Mega Drive emulator compared to different settings for your SNES emulator, you can do that. If this was turned off, you'd have to have one set of settings across all your emulators. So make sure this is turned on so you can set up different settings for each emulator. So we back out of this. One other quick thing we want to change is, I think it's in input. Yes, menu toggle gamepad combo. So basically we can use the pad to bring up this menu again in game. So when we load a game, if we want to get back to this menu, we can use a shortcut on the controller. I use L3 and R3, so if we double click them together, that will then bring up this menu when in game. So now it's set. If we back out, let's get to the new important feature, which is this online updater. So basically in the past, if we wanted to add emulators to RetroArch, we had to do it manually, but now with this we can actually update and install them through RetroArch. So if we push B on the pad, we're now brought into this menu where we have the core updater, so the emulators. In here we can actually download and apply the emulators. We have basically a lot of other different ones here. We can update the cheats, overlays, if you want to add overlays to the game, and one important one is these shaders, which are like the filters for games. So if you want to make a game look more authentic to how it used to look on our old style TV, shaders can be applied to the actual game to make it look more authentic. There's two types here. There's this CG and GLSL. Basically CG if you're using Windows. That's the main one you want to use. It's more up to date and is for Windows mainly. GLSL is more for Android devices. So if we click if we click B, the Xbox pad on here, it's now going to update and download the shaders, which is done really rapidly. So once it's done, if we go to the core updater, click on this, we've now got a whole list of all the currently supported emulators that RetroArch uses. So let's download the Genesis Mega Drive one. So I've downloaded that. If we back out now to the main menu, and what we want to do is go up to Load Core. We click on Load Core, and we want to select the Mega Drive emulator. If you notice now in the bottom left hand corner, it's now listed the Genesis Plus as the emulator loaded. Each time you want to load an emulator, you're going to have to tell RetroArch where to look for the ROMs. So if we go to Settings and down to Directory, if the emulator you loaded needs BIOS files, which we talked about before, we need to point RetroArch to where these BIOS files are. So if we go to this System BIOS Directory tab here, enter it, and we want to point RetroArch to where our BIOS files are. And if you remember before, we put them in the RetroArch folder and then into the Systems folder. We want to click Users Directory, and now we want to tell RetroArch where our ROM files are. So if we go down to Files, Browser directory, again click B, and we want to point RetroArch to where our ROMs are. In my case, in the H drive, and then in here, and then Mega Drive, and use this directory. So now we've set up this core so it knows where to look for ROMs. So if we go down to load content, and then we've got a few options here. A new feature to this current version of RetroArch is the collection. Basically, we can set up playlists, so we can add like favourite games to a list. And basically, what this would do, each time we select a game, the theme or background wallpaper will change to the system. So if you had a Mega Drive, if we highlighted a Mega Drive game, the background or theme of RetroArch would change to like a Mega Drive theme. So it's like a really nice front end, but at the moment it's still a bit buggy as it's a new feature, so we won't be going into that, but we'll just use the bog standard select file option. So if we select that, and now we have a complete list of ROMs for the Mega Drive. So let's scroll down to, I don't know, let's pick Elisa Dragoon. Because it's a zip folder, we're given two options here: open archive as folder or load archive or core. We want to pick this one. Basically what this will do is unzip the file from the zip file straight away and load it up without being prompted to extract the zip file. So we load that up. You'll now notice it's loaded the Elisa Dragoon. Let's turn this down so you can hear me. So yeah, it's loaded the game, but as you'll notice, there's not really any filters or shaders applied, just a bog standard bilinear filtering. But we can change that. So if we click in both L and R sticks as we set up, this will take us to the menu screen where we can resume the game, restart the game, or close the game, take screenshots, save states, load states, emulator options, pad options, cheat options, and the one we're interested in here is shader options. So if we push B on that, we want to load shader presets, go into the shaders folder, and here we have different categories broke up into folders. The one I'm interested in is CRT, and here we have a different list of shaders. Some good ones are CRT Royale, CRT Lotes is quite good, Hylian's quite good, Genome's quite good, Easy Mode's a really good one, that's also a very good one. Let's load Easy Mode. Where have you gone? So push B on that, click up to apply shader, and then click both sticks in again to go back to the game. And you'll now notice it's added a kind of like a scan line filter over the game. So it kind of makes it more aesthetically pleasing to sort of like mimic a CRT display. Yeah, so to get out of this anytime, just click both sticks in if you want to, which will take us back to where we were before. So push A to go back to the quick menu and click close content, and then push A to go back again, and now we're back on the main screen. So let's download another emulator. Let's pick a Game Boy Advance one. There are quite a few different Game Boy Advance emulators here, but the main one I use is VBA Next. I think that's one of the best ones. So let's download that. Back out, load that. So now you'll see you'll have two things. So load the Game Boy Advance emulator. You will now notice that's loaded in the bottom left there. It's saying it's loaded. Again, we've got to go to settings, directory and tell RetroArch where to find the Game Boy Advance ROMs, because we don't want it looking back in the Mega Drive folder again, because that's the Mega Drive. So again, go back to where you have your Game Boy Advance ROM stored. Use this directory, back out, load content, select file, and now we have all our Game Boy games. Let's pick, what should we pick? I'll pick a favourite one of mine, which is Gunstar Superheroes. Awesome game. Where are you? Here you go, Gunstar Superheroes. Again, because it's a zip file, click Load Archive of Core. Right, so now we've got a Game Boy game loaded up, but you know, you kind of notice that it's applied the filter we had before for the Mega Drive, and whilst it looks, it doesn't look bad for a Game Boy Game Advance on a full screen, big screen, it doesn't quite look like a Game Boy Advance display, but we can change that. So if we bring up the menu again by clicking in the LNR sticks, go down to shader options, go to load shader presets, and then go to the shaders folder again. At this time, instead of going to the CRT, we go to the handheld folder, console border, and here we have a list of different handheld systems, and the one we're interested in is the Game Boy Advanced. And basically you'll notice there's like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Basically what these shaders are they actually show the actual Game Boy system, so it looks like you're playing it on a Game Boy Advanced. Basically what these different scale ones are, the different zooms in, so if you want to see more of the screen you choose a ×6, but if you want to see more of the actual handheld console you choose one the ×2 or ×3. So let's pick ×5 and go to apply, and then back out by pushing the LNR sticks in, and now you can see the screen represents a much more close representation of the Game Boy Advance screen, and you've got the overlay of the Game Boy Advance around as well, but you'll notice we're kind of like stuck in a 4:3 aspect ratio here, so we're kind of like missing the sides of the Game Boy Advance console. So what you need to do is we need to push A to back out the menu, A back out of this menu, and we need to, as before, go to settings, but go into video, and we need to change the aspect ratio to 16:9. So basically most of the stuff that has overlays of the actual systems you want to change to 16:9 so you can see all of the screen. So we go back and now click back out to the main game. You can now see we have the whole sort of like bezel of a Game Boy Advance. So yeah, never before has a Game Boy Advance game looked so good, blown up to stupid proportions that it wasn't designed to be displayed on. And yeah, it looks really good. Fucking it's taking a lot of hits, this guy is. So yeah, that's the Game Boy Advance. Let's try another game. So close content. Go to the update again, and let's what should we update? Should we get the PlayStation? Yeah, let's go for the PlayStation. I think at the moment there's only one PlayStation emulator, but it's perfectly fine. This is PlayStation, this one here. So let's download that. As again before, we need to point it after we've loaded the PlayStation claw. So we've now got the 3 games in there: Game Boy Advance, Mega Drive, and now the PlayStation. So we want to load the PlayStation core, and as before, we want to tell RetroArch where to find the ROMs for this specific emulator. So go down to File Browse. I'm trying to think where I've actually got them stored now. Aha, PlayStation games. Use directory. Back out, back out, back out. Load content. Choose file. We've got a few games here. So let's load Sympathy of the Night. That's a good one. it's still got the previous overlay shader I had on the last emulator had loaded up, which was the Game Boy Advance. So to remedy that, clicking both sticks again, down to shaders. You only have to do this once, by the way. Once you've set it up once, it'll remember the settings for each emulator. Go to load shader presets, into here, down to CRT, load easy mode again, apply shaders, back out. And also, because we picked 16:9 last time, we've got to change it back to 4:3, otherwise the screen's stretched. Settings, into video, 4:3, back out. You got Symphony of the Night loaded up. Classic game for the old PlayStation. I really like these filters and shaders you can add on top of the games. Makes them look more like the old games did on the like CRT TVs.
Die, monster! You don't belong.
Pretty sure that's Chris Redfield
It was not by
in the first
my
Resident
hand
Evil
that I
games.
once again given flesh. I was called here by humans who wish to pay me tribute.
Tribute?
Yeah, enough of that anyway. Quick menu, close the content. It's now closed. Good feature is once you have a few games loaded up, you can go to load recent. So we go to load recent. We got here a list of the 3 games we played. Obviously, if you played more games, there'd be a bigger list here. So let's go back to the Elisa Dragoon, and you'll see that it's loaded the game up again, and it's remembered what filter we had applied and what aspect ratio we had applied. So if we go back out again, close content, back out, go to load recent, load Gunstar Superheroes. It's remembered the overlay settings, the shader settings. So you can switch between all your different emulators, keeping specific settings and shaders for your different emulators all in one go. That's pretty much it, really. As I said, there's a lot more options and settings you can change, but that's more of an advanced, in-depth stuff. You know, I don't pronounce to be the most well-versed person in RetroArch, but got a good basic understanding of it, and basically what I've talked about here in this video today will hopefully help you get up and running. So yeah, any questions, guys, just stick them in the comments below, and I'll try and get back to them, and hopefully this will get you guys up and running to use this, you know, quite fantastic all-in-one front-end / emulator.